It's working now.
Okay, nice.
Nice to meet you. And
Nice to
thank
meet
you
you.
for booking a session
Oh,
through
thank you.
ADP list.
Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. It's been a while since I did any session through ADP list, and I started posting a bit more on LinkedIn again, and then I saw messages come by of people that might want to have a chat, and I was like, you know what, I need to do this more often, and you're the first.
Awesome.
So,
Oh, sweet. That's
yeah.
great to hear.
How are you doing?
I'm been good. Yeah, had a nice week so far. So nothing to complain about. How about
Nice.
you?
I'm kind of. I feel like I'm landing now. It's like it's been a crazy week, and Friday is
Mm,
the moment where I can just lay back for a bit and think things
okay.
over. I'm in my little studio here.
Sure. Yeah, is,
So
is that wall actually pink or just from the light?
no, it's actually like slight off white color, but we have all these
Oh,
colorful LED lightsaber lights.
okay. Right. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so we have we can make them all kinds of colors. So we like to have a bit of and no weird
Yeah,
vibe,
that's nice.
right? Um, okay, let's get into things. So you booked a session on ADP. I asked you, I think, 3 questions there, as in what are your top 3 questions that you would like to get into. But before we get into that, maybe we could start with a small introduction
Yeah,
on your
sounds
side.
good.
I'll tell you a little bit about us, and then we'll get into things.
Yeah, sure, sounds good. Yeah, so I'm originally from Indonesia, but I was living in Canada for 10 years.
Mhm.
I moved to Amsterdam 2 months ago because I transitioned into data analytics in 2022. After getting some experience, I was unfortunately laid off. And then after months of job searching, I realized that I really didn't like it. And after consulting with a bunch of career coaches and friends who were in the field, they all suggested UX. So I was volunteering at this music festival company, and then I decided to redesign their website and
Mhm.
just followed some UX steps, and I really liked it. So then I decided to do a boot camp, which was it was okay. And then after finishing the boot camp, I decided that I wanted to be in a city that was more design focused than Vancouver.
Welcome to
So
Amsterdam.
yeah, so I decided to come here and hopefully get some experience and also just work on some projects. I'm currently working on a new project for my portfolio as well. So yeah.
Sounds cool. Quite a journey, actually, going from Vancouver to Amsterdam.
Yeah, a little bit.
Bit of an adventure, but glad you're here. It's cool to see you're in Amsterdam. So if you ever want to drop by, we're probably 5 minutes away. you know,
Oh
we're
yeah, for sure.
we're right behind the Eye Museum on across the central station.
Okay.
You know, the weird white building with all the shapes, kind of like a
I'm
film
museum.
museum.
Okay. I usually go to the Oba and Osterduke.
It's
So
close by, so it's
okay.
maybe you know the Adam Tower with the swings on top, where you can swing over the edge.
Oh, oh, I
Okay,
didn't know.
you
I
haven't
didn't know that was a
experienced
thing.
most of them yet.
No, not really. Yeah.
All right, then anyway, make your way to North sometime, and
Okay.
you'll find some amazing places, and we're right around those places too.
Nice.
Uh, Okay, well, as you know, I'm Dylan de here. Uh, I started as a brand designer about 12 years ago. I did that for 2 years, and then I was like, okay, I think I can make relatively pretty things, but then I didn't know if it was actually doing anything substantial.
Mhm. Mhm.
So back then, I ran into a guy named Roy van Balen, and he was a UX designer back then. He has a UX recruitment company now, but back then he was working for all kinds of clients, and he said to me,
Right.
Dylan, I think you make nice looking things, but I can make smart things. Maybe we should join together and start trying some stuff. And we had a really successful project together within the Netherlands. And that was the moment in my career when things kind of started to click, doing
Mm,
research, getting to know people and tying that
mm,
back to business objectives.
yep.
And did that in agency life for a few years, then
Mm,
kind of reached my glass ceiling, let's say,
mm,
because I was the only one doing that.
right.
Uh, Switched my career to consultancy. So instead of small agencies, I suddenly landed in a company called Exibia.
Okay.
When I joined there, it was IT consultancy with 800 people. And
Okay.
3 years later, when I left, they had 8,000. So there was like this insane journey of growth. And
Wow.
then all over the place, from Shanghai to New York to back to Amsterdam, and work for different kind of more corporate clients. Did that for 3 years, and then I figured, okay, I'm overwhelmed, I'm
Mm,
tired, I need to take a break. I saw agency issues, I saw consultancy issues,
mhm,
I saw- um, and that's when I decided to pull the plug on everything, sell my house, move smaller, use the money I gained from my house to kickstart square one, quite literally start from scratch. And
oh, how long did
that
it take you to make that decision?
it took me 2 weeks because I got overwhelmed and tight, kind of close to a burnout.
Okay.
And I took some days off. I went to the beach by myself. Told my
Mhm.
girlfriend, like, okay, maybe, if you stay here for just a minute, then I will go there and I just get my head straight. And
Mhm.
it was it was the weirdest decision because during those 2 weeks, me being at this hotel at the beach, it was mostly heavy rain and storm. So I was sitting in this hotel room looking at like a dark sea with rain. And it
Oh
was very
no.
depressing, but at the same time, very clarifying, I would say. And it was during those 2 weeks where I was like, okay, if I'm going to go back to my job, I'm going to be unhappy. I'm not going to learn the things that I want. I've learned the things that I want. So it is now time for me to move on.
Mhm.
And I've always wanted to start my own business.
Yep.
And I always wanted to do that with my best friend who I met 10 years ago. We were always philosophizing about what it would be like. So back then I kickstarted Square One, and like 6 months later, Cherry came on board as well. And now we're 3 years down the line. And things are
Mm,
going really well.
amazing.
So that's cool. And yeah, it's like half a year ago we met Sasha over there. Well, kind of hiding now behind her screen.
Yeah.
Uh, Not too late. Um, and
Okay.
yeah, now we're working for clients. We're talking to people, trying to get more seen online, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, 2 weeks. I was expecting you to say like few years.
No, that was kind of a snapshot decision. It just needed to happen. It's kind of like it.
Yeah.
We were mulling this over for a long time, but
Yeah.
I
Okay. I
felt
see.
right. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Wow, that's very interesting.
Thank you.
Nice.
So, how about we dive into what you came here to talk about, and maybe you could tell me a little bit about what you're currently facing, and what your thoughts are.
Yes. So I took a boot camp, like I mentioned, but I feel like it was maybe the harsh and insensitive way to put it. It was a bit of a waste of my money. And I feel like they only gave you, I don't know, like the method to be a very average UX designer. That's just not gonna cut it right now. So I've been trying to reference a lot of other people's portfolios and
Mm-hmm.
just doing mentor meets to slowly iterate the quality of my work. So I think that I'm just trying to maybe learn about new ways of looking at things and maybe different approaches that I could take and maybe use some of those learnings to apply in my project so that all of my projects in my portfolio look like they're getting better at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a very tricky thing. Which boot camp did you take? Is it do I know it, or is it Less
It's called
sound.
Memorize.
Memorizely.
Yeah,
From the super fast guy.
yeah, that guy. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah,
No, I know that. I haven't taken the boot camp, but it's nice to hear your take on it. Um,
yeah. Obviously, it's very subjective. It's just not my learning style.
yeah. So what was it like? Is it do they just give you like online courses, or what is the curriculum like?
The curriculum is 2 days of classes a week, and
Mhm.
there is an instructor, a different one per day, and they would have a Figma file open, a FigJam file, and then it would be interactive where there's stickies involved, and then they would introduce a concept and let everybody explain what they think the concept is, give you a small exercise, teach you how to use Figma, give you two big case studies to finish. Uh, yeah, that's pretty much what it was, which is
Right.
a lot of students also really enjoyed it and did really well. But yeah, personally, it just wasn't my preferred method of learning. And the students who did well already had a pretty strong background to begin with. Um, so yeah, that was my personal experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's fair, and I think it's not so much about these boot camps per se. It's really about um, you know what what are your expectations? What were your expectations the moment you started thinking about UX? What does it mean to you?
Yeah. So I think for me, it means problem solving. So the case study that we were given are case studies that have been hashed out multiple times. And yeah, one of them was something that was already done actually before officially, and it didn't work. So I think that my expectation was to maybe solve a real world problem
Mhm.
and kind of expand my problem solving in a more design centered way.
Right.
And yeah, that's pretty much what I expected. Uh,
Right. Yeah, so this is what I hear about a lot of these boot camps. The thing that triggered me immediately was that you said, okay, class would start, and then Figma is open, or FigJam is open. Like, okay, that is immediately an indicator that they're very focused on the solution part of UX, but there is a whole world that ties into that before you go into any solution, right? Is exactly what you're saying, is understanding the problem
mhm,
and diving in on that.
mhm.
There's a lot of interesting people and resources that can help you navigate that kind of world, let's say, on how to
Yeah.
approach that. I haven't really seen any substantial boot camp or really any education that does this well yet. I think it's
Yeah.
because the whole thinking is, I wouldn't say new, but it hasn't really festered well into the world of education for some reason. I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's too hard to navigate for them.
I mean,
I
I
don't know.
will say, like, one of my good friends who recommended me to do this, she did one called Design Lab, and that is an excellent one, but it's extremely expensive.
Right.
So yeah, the quality for mid to low range price boot camps are just, yeah, the value, I'm not convinced based on my personal experience. And yeah, I decided to kind of put my learnings into use by doing my own real world project now. And I find that, yeah, I'm just not equipped.
Right.
So
Well, I mean, it's a good thing that you're aware, right? Like that's the start. Like you're very aware of the issue with this bootcamp you had. I can imagine you also took some things away from it. I had a
yeah,
quick look
of course.
at, I mean, I became a little bit of a Gabriela stalker because
Yeah.
I went to your website and then eventually found scenes from the underground, and I saw a little tagline that said that you like to make music, and I ended up on your SoundCloud.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
so
no, I did.
funny.
And I've
I
seen
didn't
your
really
LinkedIn.
expect
But the first thing I took away from it is that
that.
even though, it's very good that you say like, okay, I think UX is all about problem solving. In a way that's true. I think it's also that a lot of people can say that they're into problem solving, regardless of whether they're in UX. Someone in business might argue it. Someone in engineering, it doesn't really matter. It's a different kind of problem. right? So I, if you're really interested in solving problems for the business or problems for people, or maybe both, that is actually such a strong North Star to kind of lay out in concrete steps, right?
I'm just gonna write down notes, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because one of the things I like to do, and I've done that for years now, is kind of, so I'm a bit of a dreamer, and I like to set a really, really ambitious goal, unrealistically so. And that doesn't work for all people. Some people really just want to get moving and learn along the way.
Yeah.
For me, it's more, I want to know what my dream is, and then it helps me manage the little steps that I can take to get there. Um, and what helps me define that dream is to write it down, like you did just now. Is what kind of designer do you actually want to be, right? Because if I look at your portfolio, it is incredibly visual, and that's fine, right? If you really want people to take away from your portfolio that you want to build beautiful things, if you want them to take away that you deliver strategic solutions, maybe the tone of your portfolio may help you like communicate that, right? To put that up front.
Right. Okay. So to communicate my value more clearly.
Yeah. So if, let's say, you wouldn't have the ability to scroll anyway, and you have no pages, you only have that square box, the only thing that people see the moment they land. What is the single message that's going to tell them exactly what you want and that they want?
Yeah. Okay.
Right? And I think if you can crack that code, and it might not be easy because it's like such a limited space and you don't really get to explain yourself.
Yeah.
But if you manage to define that for yourself, and it can change over time, that's fine, right? You put something out and you learn something new. But it, my advice would be to have something to test that you can promote anywhere, like on your website, on your LinkedIn, on your CV. Like that is the core message. What do you help businesses or people with?
Yeah.
And I did kind of like, so I'm looking at your website right now. Let's look at it together. Where is the share tab? Share my entire life. Yes. So I'm looking at your website here, and what I like about it, first off, I'm a very visual person, so I like the clean aesthetic that's going on here. It helps me directly aim my focus to the message, so that's going really well. I don't think there's anyone that looks at anything but this, right?
Yeah.
So that works well.
Okay.
Now the question is this the message that you want to put in people's head? And if so, what is the first thing that you would like them to do the moment they have read this? Is it to reach out to you, or is it to read more about something?
I see what you mean.
Because
Yeah.
if you zoom out, you're doing the exact same thing here that you would do for any of the clients that you're going to work for. You're solving a problem here, and the problem probably is right now. I'm making assumptions too, so correct me if I'm wrong. Is that if you don't know who you're building this for, you can't really cater to them, and if you don't understand these people, you can't really cater to them.
Hey, that's very interesting. I'll have to spend some time thinking about that.
Yeah, that's some food for thought, and I also want to give you an example of the way I approach this for myself, because eventually we all get stuck in the designer portfolio. It is a big project for a single person.
Mm.
because you're thinking about the website, the copy, the call to actions, the visuals, the journey of the person. Where do they come from, and where do you send them to?
Mhm.
It's all these things, and so I started focusing more on my LinkedIn, and there are
Mhm.
few reasons for that. And I think that one of the reasons is also the reason you found me, is because for the past 8 years or so, I've been building my LinkedIn like it's some sort of piece of Lego set, like
Mm.
stacking on top, iterating continuously.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
now it's really starting to kick off. But what I just told you about that core message, that is a pattern you'll find back on my LinkedIn.
Mm.
It's who am I? What do I do? So this is what I
Yeah.
want to help people with. It's quite broad.
Okay. Yeah.
If you scroll down to the about, can't even, right? I try to
Yeah.
focus constantly on that single thing that I want people to
Mm.
reach out to me for. And this is completely tailored to design managers and product managers, because I
Mm.
believe those to be the people that want to hire me and that I want to work for.
Right. Right.
So I skip recruiters, by the way, like completely, because the moment we try to convince recruiters, we're convincing people that have very often little knowledge about our field,
Mm. Okay.
right?
Okay.
And
Got it.
yeah, so that's kind of the take on LinkedIn. Uh,
Okay. Yeah. I can definitely do more with my LinkedIn for
yeah,
sure.
I think if I just look at here, it's like there's such a nice space here to actually tell people what you do and how you do it.
Mm.
You can do it here. You can do it in your about, like what's your story in short, and
Mhm. Yeah.
I can guarantee you from my personal experience that
Mhm.
people like the people interested in hiring you will spend more time on your LinkedIn than they do on your CV.
Mm.
And my running assumption there is that that it's because everyone just fucking hates PDFs, like they're horrible. And
Oh, okay. Yeah. 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 Right.
so I try, if I ever have to create a CV, I optimize it for scannability of systems, because usually gets put in something like
Right.
what is it, a Monday or Haywork or whatever, and these systems
Right.
scan the information and present it.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I put more emphasis on my social visibility, and
Mhm.
these days also on the Square One website, because
Right.
we're a business now. But
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense.
I think
Okay.
this is the place that can really, this is one of the places for a long-term plan. It's the visibility of your professional life, and it allows you to reach the people that are doing professional work, right?
Mhm.
Everyone, cool places with cool problems are here on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
So that
Okay. Yeah.
would be one of the pieces that I,
Okay.
yeah.
Got it. Like that. Okay. Okay.
What
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
did I think I kind of lost. Did we go off the rails? What was your second question?
Oh, no, no, no. I think that was completely fine. Yeah, I was curious, like what do you think a designer needs in their skill set now that, I don't know, it feels like the market is changing a little bit with AI, especially for someone who's entry level, what do you think are the core skills that I should be focusing on
Sure. It's very easy to give you a you should know everything answer,
building?
because that is what the market feels like.
Mm,
And the honest truth is that there are a lot of companies hiring generalists, and
mhm.
I think the reason for that is because big places are cutting costs at the moment.
Yeah.
My advice would actually be not to start as a generalist at,
Mm,
at the start. I think it's still fine to be a specialist,
mhm.
but not focus too much on these farm places, like these big famous places that everyone thinks is the ultimate goal to work at.
Yeah.
Personally, I think they're incredibly boring. And
Mhm.
the reason for that is because you, you don't really get to experience big problems 9 out of 10 times. You'll start very low in the ladder. You get very little responsibility.
Mhm.
You have to constantly prove yourself. It's a social game almost, right?
Mm.
Next to your design work. So depending on what kind of companies you're interested in, I would I would focus on getting the skills to help them.
Mm.
Because
Okay.
they have different kind of problems. So if you're looking at a startup, their main problem usually is to find product market fit,
Yeah.
and a lot of startups have some sort of funding, so there's a fear of running out of money, and you get
Yeah.
to learn a lot about starting a business
Mhm, mhm.
and which questions to ask to people, users, and stakeholders in order to find that product market fit.
Mm.
Now, in uh, the thing is that you can learn a lot in startups, but the risk is higher, right? The pay is
Yeah.
shittier, the risk is higher,
Yeah.
because the company might go down,
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
but you can learn a lot. Like that's.
Yeah. That's very true.
I think then the second phase is the scale up. Generally, they have found some sort of product market fit. People are
Scale up.
buying their things, but they might not fully know why people are
Mm.
buying their things, because a lot of,
Okay.
I mean, they might have some ideas, and maybe there are designers involved that have already laid some groundwork.
Mhm.
Uh, but I've seen a lot of scale-ups that don't truly know. Like they've solved some business issue, they've delivered something others haven't, but the product is still kind of shit and feedback is bad.
Mhm.
But it's good enough to make money. But
Right.
this is
Okay.
usually a very nice sweet spot to learn more about doing
Scale up.
research and the defining really valuable solutions. You'll get
Mm.
space, but people are more conflicted, I would say, often because everyone is trying to figure out what needs to happen next.
Yeah.
The scale up issue is resources. So people, I don't want to call people resources, but that's how, if you,
Yeah.
from a business perspective, it's like, what do we invest in and why? What's the next team? What's the next big?
Right. Okay.
Um, so if you want to go into that, the skills that are more interesting is being able to navigate that confusion.
Mm.
Skills that focus heavily on getting the truth uncovered. Research becomes even more prevalent in scale ups. So you could lean more into helping them find what is actually driving the value of their business and where opportunities may still be hidden.
Identifying hidden opportunities.
Yeah. And you'll, in a scale up, you're more likely to find a partner, right? Like another designer or maybe a few more designers to
Yeah.
uh, dividing work with. So you have to be less of a generalist, and you can
Right.
focus more on maybe research or
Mhm.
interaction design or visual design, or maybe just some overarching solution architect. This is like, there's some things that you could look into.
Okay.
And I think
Okay.
the key there is, what do you think will give you energy?
So,
Even though you may find out that you want to do all of those things, like in the end, everyone wants to be some sort of superhero and do like
yeah,
really
totally.
big problems. And I get that. Um, but the easiest way to get there is to become decently good at one thing at a time,
Yeah.
and then move on to the next thing. And maybe you'll find there's one thing that you love so much you want to just specialize in it, or you'll find you like a lot of things and you get deeply good at multiple things, and you'll turn into this generalist by default,
Yeah.
and you'll spread your work more across a business or an area of problems, let's say, or topics.
Right. Okay. Okay. I feel like probably leaning more towards a generalist, but yeah, we'll see once I get more experience.
I started visual. I love visual, and I had to fight really hard to get seen as someone that can do research. And I had to fight hard to become someone or to get seen as also someone that can manage teams. So
Mhm.
I went out and got my product owner certificates. I did some Scrum courses. I started slowly leading teams and learned that too. Simply
Right.
because, like you, maybe is I don't really care what I have to do as long as I get to deliver something really valuable that we can all be proud of.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's a nice goal to have.
But, so it's kind of a ladder. I started visual, then it became research, then I put them together, then it became teams, first design teams, and now also complete product and engineering teams. It's like, it just the scope broadens up the
Yeah.
moment for new things.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I had one more question, if that's okay. I know we're already at.
No, we have all the time.
Okay. Yeah, so I was curious with all of your clients,
Mm.
what would you say are like the main things that they want out of like a design project?
But for me, that's quite clear because Square One pretty much only focuses on kickstarting new things or breaking things down to start again. So clients come to us with the question of how do we initiate this new, let's say, initiative.
Mm.
Uh, Something that we have now is is just being outperformed. It's not working the way we need it to. So what we're looking for with us is someone that can come into that business fully integrated and help them navigate the root cause of the issue they're facing. And root cause meaning, okay, I'm starting something new. I don't know enough of my market to actually deliver something valuable, or I have delivered something and it's being outperformed by competitors, and I don't know.
Right. Oh, okay.
Or they won't often say, I don't know why, because it's a vulnerable thing to say.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I take out of it very often. So the concrete thing they'll say is, I got this great idea. We need to launch something new or
Mhm.
beautiful product, but I know we can do it even better. you know,
Yeah, 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 for sure, for
and
sure.
just like, oh,
That's
look at us go.
that's funny. Okay, so you're kind of like a consulting company basically, but design focused, I guess. In that
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. I mean that's spot on because the reason we started Square One is because Cherry and I both worked for agencies and consultancies.
Mhm.
We see two big problems that we are trying to solve, and that is agencies are really good at designing things behind closed doors. And then after a few weeks or months, they will present this amazing, cool looking thing to clients and they hand it over, expecting clients to kind of keep it alive and iterate on it. But there's so much knowledge lost between the two parties that
Yeah, okay, I
it
can see
dies.
that.
Right? It just dies. Um, But what makes agencies really nice is that they have creatives surrounding each other,
Mm.
challenging each other to build beautiful things. And it works really well because it's energizing and it's so much fun to make something beautiful.
Yeah, for sure.
And in agency life, the opposite happens. We integrate ourselves in with the client, usually only one person at a time, maybe two. If you're lucky, it's a big team, but it doesn't happen that often. Um, but then you're there as a solo person in
Mhm.
this corporate environment, trying to navigate so much more than design. You have all kinds of different disciplines trying to tell you what needs to happen, and they expect you to tell them what needs to happen. And you're more focused on knowledge sharing, aligning and compromising, I would say, to deliver some value. And that value is usually more focused on uh, internal problems, like people not knowing how to deliver value to their clients. So you're not really the designer anymore, you're the
Right.
mediator.
Okay, I see.
And we didn't want to be either, right? So square one, like we're in the process of training product designers also as product owners, not to make them product owners, but to
Yeah.
help them understand these businesses better, and to eventually kickstart little agencies inside the companies of the clients so that we can teach
Mm,
them what design looks like, and at the same time also
okay.
really kind of cool stuff.
Okay, okay, I see. So you're kind of educating their team as well so that they can maintain it.
That's the idea. Yeah, that's the idea. But we're still small, so it's also an evolving process.
Yeah.
Jerry and Sasha are working on a client together. I'm working by myself for another client. And
Mm,
so far it's working really well, but we have to be mindful of, like, it's a relatively hard to scale kind of business, because the concept is
yeah.
not, like, it's not a very well known concept. So with new clients, we have to have a lot of these talks about why they're facing certain issues and why we believe we can actually solve that.
Okay, so you justify your design kind of from the beginning in a sense.
How we justified a certain process, I would say.
Justifies.
We, yeah, because we can only deliver real value if we get to work in some manner like I just described. It's like
Mm,
there's always some compromise depending on
right, I see.
the client, the way they currently work, but generally we try to sell ourselves as these product designers uh, in uh, in the same rhythm as the product teams work. So that's
Mm,
another thing we're focusing on. A secondary thing, that you don't sign big contract with us. You sign more of like a subscription where you extend our work every 2 weeks, 1 or 2 weeks, depending on the rhythm of the development teams at the client. So
interesting. Okay, I've never heard of that.
no, there's not a lot of people doing this. There's not really a name for it, but it does minimize risk for clients a lot, because we don't have to write proposals
Oh,
about like €500,000
yeah.
assignment. At the same time, they know exactly that if they want to keep us for, let's say, 3 months, they know exactly what that looks like. And we have to
Mm,
prove our worth every 2 weeks.
yeah.
Otherwise, they just pull the plug.
Okay. It's a very interesting business model. Okay.
Bit risky, but so far it's also very valuable.
Okay, nice. So you mentioned that when you're trying to identify the problems that these clients are facing, is that just a lot of user research?
Now, I mean, no, we didn't do active user research on this because we've been in the business for 10 years. We do. And Cherry and I have always worked for customers, let's say, or external clients, never as an internal designer for a specific product or service. So
Okay.
we have been navigating that field of getting, like, merging into new teams over the past 10 years, like,
Mhm.
constantly. We took that as kind of like groundwork for our assumptions. The It's relatively easy for us to sell this thing. So that is one way for us to confirm that we're on the right track. And somewhere in the near future, what we'll have to do is formalize our knowledge more and start mapping out our assumptions better and start
Mm,
questioning some of those things, start doing research. But we're such a small team that we have to be mindful of how we approach that, because there's just
right.
three of us,
Yeah.
and we uh, we're all on an assignment, so we only keep our Fridays off to explore and play and figure out our own stuff.
Okay. I see. Wow. Okay. It's very interesting. Good. Okay. Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of these things. I know we're a little bit over time. I just wanted to be mindful.
It's okay. No, I mean, I have no hard stop. If you is there any other questions you would like to go over, or do you feel like you have enough to move forward for now?
I mean, I did want to ask one last question. I guess, yeah, how do you problem solve? Like, is there
How
a
to
framework that you use? Because yeah, when I was in analytics, I worked with a lot of people who were in consulting, and they would have a lot of frameworks that they follow. I was just curious in the world of design if that exists.
Oh man, I might say some really controversial things here, um, because I'm in no way, shape, or form fan of any framework or process. Or whenever someone opens a conversation with me, leading with design thinking or agile working or all these things, I'm like, okay, I don't like it. And the reason is not the framework or the process.
Mhm.
The reason is that any framework or any process is a solution to something.
Yeah.
To what is it a solution to? I don't want to introduce any of these things until the problem is understood. And so if a process or a framework is a solution to a problem, then what is the problem? And let's lead the conversation there first.
Mhm.
And this is also how I solve problems. Is that I don't I d- I feel like there are so many people trying to not ask hard questions and hide behind these processes. And then if the work doesn't work out, the process is the issue. But
Mm.
process is never really the issue. It's just something you can try to manage your work. But the issue is you're not asking the right questions. And and it's tough to ask the right questions because people get pissed off at you if you're persistent. And it's a
Yeah.
bit of an emotional journey. And that's the core skill of any good designer is being resilient.
Mm.
Right? It's getting a bit of a thick skin and not caring too much about people getting emotional, because change comes at a cost. Change
Yeah.
is friction, and maybe that's that. I want to write that down on like a little towel and hang it on my bathroom wall. Like that's it.
That's really funny. Okay, yeah, so I guess I should just focus on asking the right questions and clarifying the problem as much as possible.
The one of my favorite authors and books, and I'm 100% sure you've heard of Simon Sinek and always start with why. That
Okay.
thing, or like that if you haven't, read that book. Always start with why. There's also a lot of articles, podcast videos with him talking about it. That
Right.
he's not a designer. He
Mm.
is. I don't even know how he describes himself,
Yeah, I don't
but
know what
he's
it
a
is.
really good communicator. And the idea of that sentence, always start with why, struck such a good chord with me. Like it hit something, because in the end, nothing really matters until you understand what you're supposed to focus on and how to focus on it. And that is asking questions. It's understanding users, is asking why. Understanding the business, is asking why. It's getting to that core and then finding what the real issue is that should be solved.
Mhm.
And then you start looking at the solutions. And there's so many solutions. It can be overwhelming. It can
Yeah.
be change in processes. It can be specific tooling that is needed. It can
Mhm.
be new communication structures. It can, I don't know, uh, it could be something physical, a new parking spot because people hate walking. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I see what
But,
you mean.
And that's also why I advise, even though if you love building digital products, still read into what it's like to be a service designer, because they are far more focused on understanding people and processes.
Right. Okay. So it's just
You get that down, like you get down the resilience down, get the mandate down to talk to real people that are supposed to use your product or service, and the
Mhm.
stakeholders that that are pushing money into this topic or whatever it is you'll be working on.
Mhm.
You find a way to connect the real problems and build a solution there. That is
Mhm.
the moment you're going to see tremendous value and change.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Just got a bunch of random notes here.
I was so curious, like, what did you like? Oh, stupid beard. Uh, oh wow,
My writing is very
already a whole
strong.
flow chart there.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much again for sharing some of your wisdom and experience. I really appreciate your time and yeah.
Great. I'm happy to be of assistance. I hope it's helpful. If so, would really mean a lot to me if you could leave a little review on
Yep,
ADP.
definitely.
Like we discussed, you don't want me to share any video, but you're okay with me sharing audio if it's valuable to my network.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you mind being
Yes.
tagged if I share anything?
No, not at all. I would love to be tagged.
Oh, great. Then maybe that'll happen. I need to mull it over a bit.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but it was really nice talking to you. I think you're a bright mind and a very kind person. So,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
way to go. Uh,
Eh,
if you ever want to talk about anything else, let me know. I'm
okay,
on ADP. Reach out to me, connect with me on
sounds
LinkedIn.
good.
I'll be around.
Will do. I will likely take you up on that. Yeah. Oh,
Good.
well, how did you add the consent?
It's if you're on the latest version of OS X on your MacBook, then you can do
Oh,
hand gestures and it will just see.
I'm obviously not. My Mac is not updated. Wow, that's crazy.
Right?
Nice.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you, Dylan. Have a nice rest of your Friday.
Thank you. You too. Talk to you
All
later.
right. Bye.
Bye bye.